For more, let's cross to George Ciccariello-Maher in Philadelphia. He is an assistant professor at Drexel University and an expert on Latin American social movements. George, thank you very much for being with us today. Now, we haven't seen President Hugo Chavez for over 2 months now. We've seen the pictures that have been released. Are these pictures enough to show that this strong man of Venezuela is still in charge?
Sure. Well, they show a couple of things. The first thing that they show is they really put to rest this opposition myth that Chavez is dead or dying or in a coma or something like that, and they make it very clear that Chavez is on his way to recovery. That it's clearly going to be a long recovery. We're talking, of course, about 2 months after his surgery, and he looks relatively well. He clearly is. He's not sitting up, and as they've said, he's breathing through a tracheal tube. But here's someone who's on the path to recovery, and so the immediate impact should be and has been to encourage Chavez supporters and to put to rest a sort of opposition myth that's been cultivated.
No, but earlier this week, the Venezuelan government devalued the currency. And of course, this hasn't been very popular with those who are struggling with Venezuela's high prices. This is a real leadership test for Vice President Nicolas Maduro, isn't it?
It is, and what needs to be done when it comes to a devaluation, which clearly has some negative impacts on an economy, but also some positive impacts, is that devaluation needs to be explained. It needs to be explained to the Venezuelan people why that was necessary and why it was actually a beneficial decision. And the reality is the Venezuelan government devalued the currency 3 years ago, and we haven't really seen any of the catastrophic effects that the opposition was predicting back then. They have a habit of getting very excited whenever something happens in the economy and using it as a moment to make catastrophic claims about the imminent downfall of the Chavista government, and that has yet to manifest, of course.
There is still no indication as to when President Hugo Chavez will return to power, but how much longer do you see the Chavezes go on ruling without the strong man of Venezuela?
Well, the reality is there's actually no limitation that has been set into motion yet. If it comes to Chavez actually not being capable of ruling, this is something for the Supreme Court to determine. It's not up to the opposition, the self-appointed opposition leaders, or the self-appointed organizations to determine whether or not Chavez is ruling. The Supreme Court has come out and said, according to their indication at this point, Chavez is still in charge. If he is no longer capable of ruling for a temporary period, the Supreme Court will need to declare a temporary absence. And if the Supreme Court declares that he can no longer return to power, then there needs to be what is called a permanent absence. In this case, in the first few years of the presidential term, that would trigger new elections within 30 days.
George, thank you for speaking with us. George Ciccariello-Maher there from Drexel University.